What's going on, guys? I want to start this video off by first and foremost giving my condolences to the Notorious RBG and her family. The nation has truly lost a leftist liberal crusader in the eyes of civil rights, women's rights, LGBT rights. We've lost a great crusader and pioneer. But now we have a Republican Party that is a very hypocritical party because now they're reversing their stance on their positions, I should say, in regards to filling a vacancy with the Supreme Court. Now they want to hurry up and rush and put a conservative in her place, which is really appalling. Just deeply sad that they're going to try to replace this woman with a right winger that's going to drastically change the fundamentals of the Supreme Court in everyday life as we know it. Because if they do this, they're going to start bringing up different rulings that have already been made throughout the past and throughout the course of history. Most notable, Roe v. Wade. They're going to bring rulings like that back up after a precedent has already been set and after rulings have already been made on them by the Supreme Court. They're going to start bringing these rulings back up once more again. And this time they're going to start trying to reverse them because they will have a 6-3 majority with the Supreme Court, because then it will be a conservative court if they get a conservative justice on the court. We are in ambiguous, unprecedented, fearful times, just to put it lightly. They shouldn't fill her seat, but they're going to rush to do it because they control the Senate, they control the White House. So there's nothing nobody can do to stop it. They're going to proceed forward, and especially in regards to the election, you get a sense of where Trump is coming from because he wants a Supreme Court nominee on there before the election. So then if there's a dispute, what happened in 2000 in the 2000 election between George W. Bush and Al Gore, if there's a dispute, then the Supreme Court could pick who they want to be the president. So that's literally how George W. Bush won the presidency. Al Gore beat him fair and square in Florida, but because of a right-wing Supreme Court at the time that slightly leaned towards the right, George W. Bush became the president. So this is what Trump is trying to set himself up for, just in case there's a dispute during the 2020 election. He wants a Supreme Court that leans towards the right, that will give it to him. Now, the only viable option that the Democrats now have is packing the courts by adding on 10, possibly adding 10 new justices. That's the number I've been hearing, about 10, maybe 4, but I've been hearing 10 more often. In other words, the Democrats must win this election in order to execute that viable option. And in some retrospects, hell, they gotta win. As much as it hurts me to say that, they gotta win. Biden and Kamala, they gotta win. So, once again, rest in peace, RBG. Breonna Taylor is not getting any justice in any way, shape, or form. The police officers that killed her and entered her apartment, they're virtually getting off. One of the officers, he was charged with first-degree wanton endangerment, which means that he potentially put others at risk, but they're not holding him accountable for the actual death of Breonna Taylor. So because he discharged his weapon throughout the apartment and multiple other apartments that could have injured and killed other people, that's what he's being charged for. Then we have this Uncle Tom, black Republican, Daniel Cameron. He's defending them, and he's presenting the case to the grand jury. He presented the case to the grand jury in a way to where they couldn't indict the officers in first-degree murder because he did not present that type of evidence. He presented the evidence of putting others in danger.
Or open the door to apartment 4, the decision was made to breach the door. After breaching the door, Sergeant Mattingly was the first and only officer to enter the residence. Sergeant Mattingly identified 2 individuals standing beside one another at the end of the hall, a male and a female. In his statement, he says that the male was holding a gun, arms extended in a shooting stance. Sergeant Mattingly saw the man's gun fire, heard a boom, and immediately knew he was shot as a result of feeling heat in his upper thigh. Kenneth Walker fired the shot that hit Sergeant Mattingly, and there's no evidence to support that Sergeant Mattingly was hit by friendly fire from other officers. Mr. Walker admitted that he fired one shot and was the first to shoot. In addition to all the testimony, the ballistics report shows that the round that struck Sergeant Mattingly was fired from a 9mm handgun. The LMPD officers fired .40 caliber handguns. Sergeant Mattingly returned fire down the hallway. Mattingly fired 6 shots. Almost simultaneously, Detective Cosgrove, also in the doorway, shot 16 times. This all took place in a matter of seconds. In total, 6 bullets struck Ms. Taylor. Medical evidence obtained by our team indicates that only 1 shot was fatal. Further medical evidence shows that Ms. Taylor would have died from the fatal shot within a few seconds to 2 minutes after being struck. Detective Hankinson fired his weapon 10 times, including from an outside sliding glass door and through a bedroom window. Some bullets traveled through apartment 4 and into apartment 3 before some exited that apartment. At the time, 3 residents of apartment 3 were at home, including a male, a pregnant female, and a child. There is no conclusive evidence that any bullets fired from Detective Hankinson's weapon struck Ms. Taylor. The KSP ballistics analysis did not identify which of the 3 officers fired the fatal shot. After receiving that information, I asked the FBI crime lab to conduct its own analysis to see if they reached the same results. The FBI ballistics analysis concluded the fatal shot was fired by Detective Cosgrove. Our office looked at both reports to determine if there were major differences in the procedures used by each lab that would have led the FBI to identify who fired the fatal shot. Both law enforcement agencies use similar equipment and analysis, and each lab is highly respected for their work. There was nothing our investigators could point to, nor anything provided by the respective agencies that directly explains why one lab made the call while another did not. I think it is worth repeating again that our investigation found that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their use of force after having been fired upon.
Justified in their use of force? How? In what way? They're fucking with people in their home, and they wonder why someone's shooting back at them. They're not even at the right house. They're not at the right house. They're not at the right house. Interesting.
By Kenneth Walker. Secondary to this justification, the KSP and FBI ballistics analysis reached different conclusions, creating a reasonable doubt in the evidence about who fired the fatal shot. I certainly understand the public's desire for answers, and many have questioned the length of the investigation. Simply put, we had to try every means necessary to determine who fired the fatal shot before the investigation could be completed. With a thorough and complete knowledge of all evidence collected in this case, lawyers with our Office of Special Prosecutions presented the findings of our independent investigation before a grand jury comprised of Jefferson County residents beginning on Monday and concluding today. In Fletcher v. Graham, the Kentucky Supreme Court said that the grand jury has competing but balanced functions. On the one hand, its purpose is to investigate allegations of criminal conduct and determine if there is probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed. On the other, the grand jury serves to protect the public against unfounded criminal prosecutions where probable cause is lacking. The grand jury is unique in our criminal justice system because it operates independent of the court and the prosecutor. The hallmark of the grand jury is its independence from outside influence. This independence is necessary to ensure that justice is done both for the victims and for the accused. After hearing the evidence from our team of prosecutors, the grand jury voted to return an indictment against Detective Hankinson for 3 counts of wanton endangerment for wantonly placing the 3 individuals in apartment 3 in danger of serious physical injury or death. The charge of wanton endangerment in the first degree is a Class D felony, and if found guilty, the accused can serve up to 5 years for each count. Kentucky law states that a person is guilty of wanton endangerment in the first degree when under circumstances manifesting
bullshit. Just bullshit. Straight up bullshit. He is not going to sit in a jail cell for 5 years. Let's just get that straight. Even if he is convicted. Let's just hypothetically say that. Say he's convicted. He's not going to sit 5 years in a jail cell. He'll get 5 years probation. He just said it's a Class D felony.
Indifference to the value of human life, he wantonly engages in conduct which creates a substantial danger of death or serious physical injury to another person. My office is prepared to prove these charges at trial. However, it's important to note that he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. During the last 6 months, we've all heard mention of possible charges that could be brought in this case. It's important to understand that all the charges that have been mentioned have specific meanings and ramifications. Criminal homicide encompasses the taking of a life by another. While there are 6 possible homicide charges under Kentucky law, these charges are not applicable to the facts before us because our investigation showed, and the grand jury agreed, that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in the return of deadly fire after having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker. Let me state that again. According to Kentucky law, the use of force by Mattingly and Cosgrove was justified to protect themselves. This justification bars us from pursuing criminal charges in Miss Breonna Taylor's death. The truth is now before us. The facts have been examined, and a grand jury comprised of our peers and fellow citizens has made a decision.
Fucked up situation, but this is an even fucked up dude. Like he's just a terrible person.
For everyone. Even as anarchists mindlessly tear up American cities while attacking police and innocent bystanders, we Republicans do recognize those who work in good faith towards peace, justice, and equality. In fact, it was General Dwight Eisenhower, a future Republican president, who said, "Democracy is a system that recognizes the equality of humans before the law."
But you're not recognizing the equality of humans. You're not doing that. What the fuck? Breonna Taylor's not getting any justice. They made that flat out clear. They don't care. And he's doing everything he can within his power to protect the police officers who killed her. It's a sad story, and it's a sad time in America. And because nothing is being done, one can only wonder what is about to happen. People aren't going to sit back and take this over and over and over and over again.